I'm now with Warren Kennedy on the Auto Anonymous stand. Good morning, Warren, and welcome to the Classic Motor Show 2024.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
So can you tell me first a little bit about the Nash Prototype?
Yeah, it's the car that Donald Healey put. Donald Healey went to America to do a deal with GM, General Motors, for the new Cadillac engine, and it all fell through. So he met the head of Nash on the boat going over and did a deal for their engines. And this is the car. He took a Healey Silverstone, dropped the Nash 6-cylinder engine in it, and took the car to Italy and did the Mille Miglia in 1950. A great car, 3-speed gearbox with overdrive, a lot of torque, ran extremely well, but he didn't realise how much fuel it would use with a standard Healey Silverstone fuel tank, so he didn't have a great finish. I think he finished 177th in the end, which is bad for Donald. When he finished in 48, he finished 9th overall. In 49, I think he finished 10th overall. So to finish 177 wasn't good. But they then, straight after the Mille Miglia, took the car back to the works, put the side pods on it and the fairing on it, and the car entered Le Mans. And it was the first time ever a Healey had ran at Le Mans as a works car. And it was partnered by Duncan Hamilton and Tony Rolt very successfully. And they missed the podium on the last lap when Sidney Allard overtook him when he'd got a gearbox problem, and they finished 4th overall, which was an unbelievable result for basically a prototype sports race car. First time ever running at Le Mans.
So can you just go through the spec of the car, please?
Oh, here we go.
If you can.
It's basically, it's the running gear is the Healey Silverstone, which was a Riley. Original Silverstones were a Riley 2.4 engine gearbox, rear axle, front brakes with Donald's own coilover front suspension. So what he did is basically took the engine and gearbox out of the Silverstone, dropped the Nash engine and box in, and took it racing. So it's got a 3.8 straight 6 engine running on tri-carbs. The original Nash engine only had twin carbs, but Donald put an extra carburetor in the middle to balance the fuel flows out better, and that's what he did. And he took it racing. It was I'll bolt that together. Let's go racing.
And so how does it handle? Because you've driven it.
I've driven it. I did the 2020 Mille Miglia in it. It's going back to Italy next year to do the Mille Miglia, and we're hoping to get it into Classic Le Mans again next year and get it back there, because the only 2 events it ever did in period was the Mille Miglia followed by Le Mans. Nash was so impressed with the car that they demanded it was sent straight to America after Le Mans. So it was packed up and shipped out in October of 1950 to America, where we lost trace of it until it fell in the hands of a guy south of New York in 1969, and I got it off of him about 5 years ago, after 9 years of knocking his door, emailing him, saying, Jim, you're never going to restore this car, let me have it, let me
give it to me.
Yeah, let me have it. And then one day I got a phone call out the blue from him saying, Warren, do you still want my car? And I said, of course I do. And we agreed a figure, and then he rang me back and he said he'll pay the shipping. So it arrived in the UK, and I immediately set about restoring it and got it back to Italy. The target was to get it back to Italy for 2020 for the 70th anniversary when it first ran there. And of course it was the COVID year, so it was
not easy.
No, it wasn't. Plus also it was the worst rainstorm I've ever driven in my life. I mean, we came out of a service station after helping another car out, and the rain was so heavy that we couldn't see the curb at the side of the road. So we pulled under a canopy of another petrol station, parked next to a Porsche 550 Spider, and we stood there for about an hour waiting for this rain to ease off, and then decided, sod this, we've taken all these COVID preventions, so that nothing is going to prevent us from getting pneumonia. So we just got in the car and we headed straight for the hotel, and trying to keep in front of this big black storm coming behind us. Yeah, and that was a fun drive, about 120 mile an hour down the motorways in Italy to get to a hotel.
So what about, can you give me a bit of history on this quite unique MGA?
Yeah, this was a creation out of necessity, and I say necessity because I love MGAs. They're beautiful cars to drive, and we were in France one year with a group of us, and I took an MGA Roadster that I had. And we all know with MGAs there's no luggage space. You've got a luggage rack on the back and you put your bags on, and you're going through Calais, and of course there's all the refugees, and you can't go into a bar or a restaurant without taking all the luggage off the back and carrying it in with you. So we were driving back and I thought, well, why can't I build a coupe? Something to put the luggage in the back and lock it up. So this idea came from that trip. And then I was just trawling through eBay one weekend, and there was a stripped out MGA Coupe. Somebody had bought in from the States in 1988, took it apart, never did anything with it. So I went and bought it, took it back to the workshop and said to my boys, right, cut the roof off that, we're going to do something special. And it's turned out exactly as I originally envisioned it.
It looks brilliant.
Yeah, it's got a lot of it's got a bit of I say it's got a bit of Mulliner in it. It's certainly got a lot of Italian influence in it. I mean, the rear lights were early Lancia, Ferrari, door handles are Zagotto. A lot of the instruments were designed and made around the Italian styling. The interior, certainly the seats are Maserati influence, same as the side vents were Maserati, Ferrari influence. We've got the door patterns were the pre-war American, the MG Sunburst pattern. So we've pulled a lot in from different eras. I mean, the tailpipes, 6 little tailpipe, because that's pre-war Bugatti. I was walking around the Slump Museum and I saw these tailpipes on the Bugatti and thought they'd look nice on the MG. So we did it. But the whole thing is it's 90% aluminium body. Yeah, the wings are 2 inches wider over the axle points to get some decent rubber under. But we didn't want to go mad. We didn't want it. It's all done very subtly, and unless you stand it next to an original car, it's difficult to know the differences.
So has it been on the track at all?
No. It's just it's the only car out of my entire collection that lives at home in the garage, so that I can get in it and drive it when I want to. All the others, I've got to go down the warehouse and I've got to move cars around to get out something to take for a drive. This has pride of place in the garage at home, so that I can. In fact, last night, daughter rang me and she says, "Daddy, the MG's gone." I said, "It's at the show with us." "Oh, is my car there?" "Yes, your car's there. That's her car. The little 3000. That's her car, yeah."
So you can take this and use it when you want to?
Yes, yeah. But I would love to have more at home to take and use. I mean, this I use a lot. I've got a supercharged Healey Silverstone that I use a lot as well, because that is a great car to drive. I've got a Rover 200 BRM. Again, really underrated car. Unbelievable to drive. Love it. Yeah. So I've got quite a mixed collection, but I've got a lot of early Healeys. I love my Healeys.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm a Healey fan myself. I used to have a frog eye myself.
Yeah. Well, I've got in my collection, I've got Donald's 2 original prototype cars. The 1501 and 1502, the 2 prototype cars that 1502 was the Elliott saloon he took to Italy in 46 and set the speed record. I've got his first production car, chassis number 3, that's currently under restoration. So I've got chassis 1, 2 and 3. I've also got the Healey Fiesta, which was the last car Donald Healey ever built. And then I've got Healey Woody, the only surviving Healey Woody estate car. I've got 2 out of the 3 Duncan drones. I've got a Duncan saloon. I've got two other Westlands. I've got JG07, which was the Elliott that Walton drove at the very first race at Goodwood. And I've restored most of Donald's works cars. I used to own and I look after GWD 43, which was Donald's own Westland that he did the Mila in 48 and Tommy Wisdom drove in 49. I've got some nice cars that over the years I've taken a long time to find, research, because they were expensive cars in the day. They were dearer than Aston Martin and people didn't throw them away. They broke down in the 60s, and when the MOT came in, people put them in the garage and left them there. I mean, I've just spent 9.5 years looking for a particular Nash Healey that I have now found, and I've now got to convince the man that he doesn't want to own it anymore.
Not easy.
No, it's not easy. When someone's had something for a long, long time and they're convinced in their minds that one day they're going to put it back on the road, that is a difficult car to buy. Very difficult car to buy, because they still think that one day they're going to put it back on the road. Yeah. I know the thing is, they may have bought it back in the 60s and paid £200 for it, but the restoration cost today is astronomical. And you know that if they didn't restore it in the 70s or the 80s, when it was probably less than £10,000 to restore it, they're not going to do it today when it's excess of £100,000 to do a car properly. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Warren, for all the information, and I hope the show goes well for you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's certainly, for this early on a Friday morning, it's busy. I've just had a walk round, so I've got a couple of cars in Hall 3 on other people's stands as well, and I've just got to walk through there, and I'm fighting to get through the crowd, so it's going to be a good show.
Well, thanks very much for the interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Warren. Thank you.